What is going on, guys, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going drifting with the wheel that started it all, the iconic Logitech Driving Force GT. Now I'm excited because this wheel is a wheel I absolutely love, and I feel it's necessary for me to stand up and correct a lot of the wrongs and misinformation that's spread about this wheel when it comes to drifting. Now if you are new to drifting with the Driving Force GT, I'll be taking you through some of my biggest and most important tips and tricks, the do's, the don'ts, and giving you proof that this wheel is an entirely capable drifter in the right hands at its full 900 degrees of rotation. Now there are two main reasons I've decided to make this video. The first is to show and have a demonstrative follow-up to my initial how to drift with a Logitech Driving Force GT video. If you haven't seen that video, be sure to check it out, as it was a quick drifting guide I made after only 3 hours of drifting experience. That video was really made for people struggling to drift with the Driving Force GT, a wheel that's often claimed to be too slow to drift with, and it's crazy to look back and see how much I've improved, and shows that it's really the driver or drifter in this case, not the wheel, that is the limiting factor when it comes to drifting. So we're here in the Drift Supra, and I'm going to start by giving a rundown on my thoughts on this wheel when it comes to drifting, then jump over to an easier drift car, the BMW E92 Drift, the car you should be learning to drift with, and giving you some hints and tips if you believe this wheel is impossible to drift with or are struggling to drift with this wheel. So as a quick rundown, I probably had around 50 hours of drifting experience with the Driving Force GT before moving to a G27, and with the G27 I probably have around 250 hours of drifting experience. So we're here using the Driving Force GT, and although the rotational speed is a little down in comparison to the G27, in no way is the rotational speed of this wheel a limiting factor when it comes to drifting. Let me just re-emphasize that again, because it is really important. Although the rotational speed is a little less, in no way is it a limiting factor when it comes to drifting. I can drift well with the G27, and I feel I can drift just as well with the Driving Force GT, at least when it comes to talking about the wheel. So what is the wheel's limiting factor when it comes to drifting? Now, being so accustomed to the G27, I feel the single biggest issue with the Driving Force GT is the fact it doesn't have a clutch pedal and a H pattern shifter. I feel myself being limited through corners, as there are times a quick clutch kick or a fast gear change is needed, and with my current settings I'm finding myself searching for where the up or down paddle shifters are located. I'll be sure to place a video overlay to illustrate times I'm having this problem. Now there are possible ways around this, like perhaps using the sequential stick shifter for gear changes and maybe using a joystick as a handbrake. I can definitely see a setup like that being better than this. If anyone is using a setup like that, let me know how you find it and how much of a difference it makes, as it's probably something I need to try out as well. But the single biggest area I'm struggling to come to grips with using the Driving Force GT, its single biggest limiting factor is the fact there's no clutch and H pattern shifter. For starters, I can't press the clutch in when using my handbrake, and without having a clutch, Assetto Corsa will currently stall the engine, which results in the car bogging down whenever using the handbrake. Even using the auto clutch feature won't engage the clutch when reaching for the handbrake. With the amount of turbo lag in this particular car, using the handbrake and getting back onto the throttle really takes a long time for the turbo to spool up and the wheels to start spinning again. What we'll do in a minute though is jump into the BMW E92 Drift on the Clouds of Smoke Drift special event, and we'll see how easier drifting is when we don't have to change gears. Hopefully I'll get a 100 plus drift combo, but we'll see see how we go. But I don't think I'm doing too bad here. I made a few small mistakes due to the fact I wasn't in the right gear, but again, I emphasize overall to those believing this wheel is not fast enough to drift with, in that its rotational speed, this rotational correction speed is too slow. I'm sorry, you're wrong. The only problem I have with this wheel, with the way I currently have it set up, is the lack of clutch and H pattern shifter. That's it. Alright, so jumping into the BMW E92 Drift, this is around the Clouds of Smoke special drift event, and time for me to demonstrate how capable a wheel this is to drift with, while also giving you guys some hints and tips if you're struggling with learning to drift, even just holding or catching a slide. Now, I've watched a lot of videos of people learning to drift in Assetto Corsa, and I've talked to a lot of people learning to drift in Assetto Corsa, and there seems to be a few common themes and mistakes. To start with, learn to drift in a moderately high-powered rear-wheel drive car. Not a mid-engine car, not a four-wheel drive car, a rear-wheel drive car. This BMW E92 Drift is my preferred pick for beginners, as it's well balanced, it's not twitchy, and has just the right amount of power and torque to make drifting easy to learn. Next is grip and tyre selection. Please don't attempt to learn on sticky, high-grip tyres like semi-slicks. Stick to street tyres. Even placing the track surface grip levels to slow or green will help when you're beginning and attempting to learn. Next is a quick comment about force feedback settings. I'll have all my settings in the description below, but I would suggest running your force feedback as high as possible. Even a bit of clipping is fine, as this will help the wheel counter steer just that little bit quicker. Also, ignore the fact I've got my force feedback turned down. I've got a lot of drifting experience and just want to demonstrate you don't need it to be set to max to drift well, but when you're learning, I'd recommend running it at maximum. In terms of transmission settings, you're going to want to enable manual transmission. Please don't attempt to drift with automatic transmission enabled, and one thing that makes this car and track combo so great for beginners is the fact you can just leave the car in second gear and link up corners consecutively without having to worry about gear changes. We're learning to drift, let's not worry about shifting gears just yet. Next, now that we've got our settings out of the way, let's talk about the most important thing, learning to drift through a corner. Now, one of the most common issues from people learning to drift is the fact that this wheel won't self-correct fast enough when the car starts oversteering. Now, I've seen a lot of videos when people complain about this, and it's never a wheel-related issue, but simply the fact that people are throwing the car in too hard and too fast when initiating the drift, and don't have the experience to realize they've used too much handbrake or have kept steering into the corner even when the wheel starts to go light and wants to correct itself. This really comes down to an experience issue. I almost feel that the wheel isn't 100% correcting itself, but I'm anticipating the drift and flicking the wheel and assisting it correct itself quicker. So my number one tip with learning to drift, and it's for all you users out there who just can't catch a slide even after 100 attempts, is to set the wheel rotation to 300 degrees. This was my biggest tip in my original video, and I still stand by it. When learning to drift, set your wheel rotation to 300 degrees, as it will really teach you how fast you can throw the car in, and you'll feel the wheel wanting to correct itself near instantly, and it will really speed up your progress. You should be able to hold big slides and even pull off some big drifts because the rotation of the wheel is so small and its correction speed so lightning fast. Once you've got the hang of it, on 300 degrees, up the rotation to 600 degrees, and finally go the full 900. But the single and most important tip is to simply practice. Be sure to check out my first learning to drift video, and you'll notice how much I've improved. And really, if you're a Logitech Driving Force GT user, prove that drifting with this wheel is more than possible. Don't listen to people that say this wheel is too slow to drift with. I've even made a G27 video on this exact same special event where I simply decided to stop after 40,000 points, and I feel we could do the same here. But anyway, guys, I think I'll end with that there. Hopefully this gives hope and some guidance to all Driving Force GT users out there struggling to drift. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, and if you want to see more videos like this from me in the future, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you all again next time.